2003. 2003 was the year that Carlo Ancelotti knew that he was going to turn Jude Bellingham into a Ballon d'Or winner.
Il tiro di Seedorf ed è una meraviglia di gol ed è il 3-2 boato a San Siro.
He just didn't know that he knew because Jude Bellingham hadn't been born yet.
Incredibile gol, incredibile.
And Ancelotti's experience with one player in particular holds the key to the Real Madrid that we see today and Bellingham's role within it. Can you guess who it is? Ancelotti was the Juventus manager prior to joining AC Milan, and his half-time sacking in a match against Atalanta is where it all began. So this is Dev Bajwa. Dev wrote this book, The Conquerors, how Carlo Ancelotti made AC Milan world champions. And he agrees with me. So he knows a thing or two about Carlo Ancelotti, and here is what he has to say about that half-time sacking.
He should never have gone. You don't employ a Roma and AC Milan legend to go to Juve. It's kind of like when Mourinho came to United. It was like he had his way, but he was never going to be fully loved and accepted by Man United. Same with them, but Italian football, as you've known, have a bit of a way of showing it. Like, they will just say what they feel. So on his first game, they unfurled a banner that said, "Go home, you fat pig," or something to him in Italian, and said some horrible things. They had a chant, and they used to do the when he used to walk. Yeah, they knew he just shouldn't have gone there.
November 5th, 2001, the day that Carlo Ancelotti returned to AC Milan, but this time as the manager, and the first milestone in Ancelotti's 22-year master plan. Ancelotti takes over at Milan after Fatih Terim gets his marching orders after poor results. Ancelotti inherits a squad with a smattering of world-class talent containing the likes of Paolo Maldini, Rui Costa, Andrei Shevchenko and Andrea Pirlo. But other than that, the squad lacked quite a lot.
So he is in the middle of a transition at Milan and doesn't really know it. So he gets there and there's too many strikers, probably not enough goalkeepers, the defence isn't great, and getting older, and the midfield is okay. But he looked at what he had and he knew who was going to stay and who was going to go. So he was just as ruthless getting players out as he was bringing players in.
In the following summer, he goes big and he recruits the likes of Rivaldo, Seedorf and Alessandro Nesta. Yes, as I said, big. And the change at the club began, but it didn't happen overnight. In that season, they improved their league standing over the previous year and finished third after finishing fourth the year before, but there was still something missing. That missing ingredient was Ricardo Exexon dos Santos Leite, otherwise known as Kaka. Just as football teams manage to upgrade their rosters, my partner Lightyear, who has sponsored today's video, they have extended their roster of financial instruments, adding money market funds as one of the options to invest in, starting from just £1, euro or dollar. So now, besides offering interest on uninvested cash and over 3,500 stocks and ETFs, Lightyear offers a product that has been generally closed from retail investors. If you are wondering what money market funds are, it is pretty simple. A money market fund is a type of mutual fund that invests in high quality short-term debt from governments, banks or corporations. Now, okay, that might sound a bit like I've just read it out from a textbook, but in a nutshell, what I'm trying to say is that what's great about money market funds is that you can use them for a short-term goal, like saving for a wedding or a down payment for a home, with a yield close to the real bank rate, although rate changes daily. You can also use them if you are simply looking to diversify your portfolio. Lightyear launched BlackRock Money Market Funds rated AAA, the highest possible rating that shows that the investment carries a very low risk of default according to independent rating agencies. So, if you are from one of these countries, you can invest today from just £1, euro or a dollar. Head to the description, click on my link and use my code JamesMMF to get started and receive a $10 fractional share. Both Lightyear and I want to emphasize that when investing, your capital is at risk as the value of your investments may go up as well as down. That link is in the description and don't forget to use my code JamesMMF. The 13th of August 2003, the day that Kaka joined Milan from Sao Paulo. This quote from Ancelotti is so important in this story because it unpacks so much and why Ancelotti has been able to have the successes that he's had in his career. But let's take it back to one name in particular, not the long one, the short one. Kaka was a special player. As the tip of the diamond, you're going to be the crown jewel within the team, and that's exactly what he did. In the fateful 2004-05 season, Kaka recorded 20 goal contributions in Serie A, but more importantly, recorded 8 involvements in the Champions League, with crucial assists coming in the quarterfinals versus Inter, and then 3 assists against PSV across both legs. He even went on to assist in the final, providing the assist for Hernan Crespo to make it 3-0 in the 44th minute. But as we all know, Milan were not victorious on that fateful night in Istanbul. So what were the repercussions for Kaka and Ancelotti? There was another name in that quote too, Zidane, Real Madrid's number 5 and an icon at the club. We all know their quality, but we need to address what Ancelotti said, and that's about professionalism. This is one of the things that has allowed Ancelotti to create new tactical approaches wherever he goes, and why he's a managerial chameleon in terms of not being tied to a certain formation or approach. Name your formation and Ancelotti has used it. He's a manager that can do it all if he has the players. The formation is almost a bit of an afterthought, but there's one formation that he keeps getting drawn back to and trying to use. We see from this lineup here that there is quality absolutely everywhere on the pitch, but there are so many fascinating tactical aspects of all of it that have been lost to the modern game until now, but more on that a little bit later on. Pirlo as the 6 here is fascinating, as he was a deep-lying playmaker in the time of Makelele and was someone who continued to champion the need for these midfield tempo controllers. But he was partnered with Gattuso, who was a box-to-box player, but also famed for his disruptive nature in the middle third. When would you ever see a player like Gattuso being deployed as an 8 nowadays? Never, unless someone is bold enough to try it. Then you have Seedorf.
Seedorf was, for me, the most underrated player ever. He could do everything, and that's exactly what he needed. So there was this mutual trust with everyone there that you just thought you couldn't break through that. So it naturally became a diamond because that's where they played.
And all of this quality allows the strikers to be exactly that, strikers. The narrowness of the diamond gives the 10 just what he wants, freedom and a lot of touches. This screenshot is from the 2005 Champions League final, and I just love what happens next. So Kaka spins his man, he plays a delicious pass in behind to Crespo, and Milan score. This goal comes from that midfield diamond being dominant and allowing strikers to be aggressive and penetrative. Fast forward to February the 11th, 2017, and Ancelotti tries the diamond formation once again. Quality and professionalism, 2 words that Ancelotti puts on a pedestal.
And that is what I want, okay? That's all.
Also, 2 words that have always been associated with Bayern Munich, so it made perfect sense for Ancelotti to dig up the diamond again. But on February the 11th, in a game versus Ingolstadt, it did not go to plan. Despite winning the match, Bayern Munich didn't score until the 90th and 91st minute. Questions were then asked about the lack of wingers when Kingsley Coman and Arjen Robben were in the squad, but sacrificed by Ancelotti to make way for a midfield-heavy system. Ancelotti quickly cast his formation aside, and he didn't use it again. And we thought this would be the last we ever saw of the diamond, and the game had moved on. Wrong! We were wrong. Mind-blowing. After the failed experiment in Munich, we thought that was that, but Madrid are once again showing the whole footballing world that they are the pinnacle, and they do things that some don't even dream of. This feels like Carlo Ancelotti's life work has come to fruition and is now becoming an ode to his brilliance as a footballing mind. But how is he doing it, and how has he managed to do something that nobody in Europe can? This screenshot shows exactly what Ancelotti is up to this season. He has revolutionised the diamond, and the tactical genius here, it's something to behold. Look at Carvajal's positioning here first. He assumes Rodrigo's positioning because Rodrigo moved out wide to maintain width. We can also see with no striker, Bellingham assumes the central role. But what happens next? What happens next is what truly makes this so fascinating. Carvajal and Rodrigo exchange play whilst Bellingham actually drops back as cover. This is an insight into how Bellingham being more advanced doesn't mean that Real Madrid lose out on his defensive capabilities and natural instincts. In fact, they're getting the best parts of them all. Meanwhile, on the other side, Fran Garcia makes a run to the box, meaning both Carvajal and Fran Garcia are in the box at the same time. And that's something that you rarely see these days with the modern inverted approach when it comes to fullbacks. But is this too risky? No. Why? Because Camavinga is the Gattuso in the team. He played at left back last season and has similar duties when it comes to providing the cover on the left, which allows Garcia to run that left-hand side. Alaba at left back for Bayern simply didn't have the relationship with Kimmich on the left to form this cohesion, and it was a reason as to why Ancelotti was criticised for the approach. Well, who's laughing now? Because Ancelotti has found a way to make it work, and Alaba is even in the team this time, but at centre-back. I know, it's like full circle. Brilliant. Have you hit like? So to summarise that point that I've just made, Camavinga is Gattuso, Valverde is Seedorf, Tchouaméni is the Pirlo. So what does that make Bellingham? Bellingham is doing something that only Kaka has managed, and that is thriving at the tip of the Ancelotti diamond. We all know that Bellingham has been lighting up La Liga with his goals, which have come from being an advanced midfielder this season. But what doesn't get talked about is the creativity he's displaying around the box. Kaka was famed for his creativity in the Milan side, and Bellingham will soon be noticed for the exact same thing. Let me leave you with these two screenshots that show you everything you need to know. Look at Bellingham's run here. He threatens to go in behind, which generates space for himself. He then checks back to receive the ball to feet, before playing a first time over the top ball to Rodrigo, who will drift wide at times despite starting as a central striker in the system. Seriously, watch out for Bellingham. His goals are being talked about now, but his creativity will steal the show, just like Kaka. Hi guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I did a whole podcast with Dev Bajwa talking about everything that you've seen here and just allowing ourselves to explore it a little bit more. So if you want to check out The Ripple Effect, which is my podcast, you can watch it on Spotify or you can listen to it wherever you want to. Link is in the description.